Good Saturday morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in with Gulf Coast Weather Solutions. This is the weekend edition that we have. Not much going on this morning here at Tamco Live Doppler Radar. We put this in motion. We see a little bit of radar noise this morning over there towards Lake Charles. That's what we typically see when the sunrise comes up, possibly some bugs and birds getting active. But other than that, it is pretty quiet. Now, if we're trying to find some showers and thunderstorms, it is going on in parts of East Texas, getting here near Shreveport. We still have that weak frontal boundary that is kind of hanging around far towards the north. We might see a little of that moisture from East Texas get down into our region later on this evening or later this afternoon, getting into the evening. But you can see rounds of showers and thunderstorms going on in parts of Tennessee, getting into really the Carolinas. That's where a lot of the action is, but not much going on in our neck of the woods. We still have lots of dry air going on into the mid to upper level. So even if that moisture kind of coming in from the north up here in Tyler and Shreveport works its way down here, I don't expect this to be really any storms at all. Really going to be more of just a chance for some light moving showers, possibly getting into the lakes region around the lunchtime hour, and then we'll see this getting into southwest Louisiana this afternoon, maybe getting close to interior like Beaumont, Lumberton, and Silsbee. I just don't know if this will go far enough west to get into Houston. But again, a pretty mostly hot and mostly dry day-to-day. Coverage today should be 10% or less for a passing shower that's kind of coming in from the north. Thanks to our sponsor of Tamco showing us what's going on the satellite and radar this morning. We're already pretty warm, muggy, and sticky. We're pretty much already getting into the middle to upper 70s north of the I-10 corridor and down towards the coast, sneaking up to the I-10. We are already into the upper 70s, getting into the low to almost near the mid-80s, thanks to our sponsor of Silsbee Ford. Really good weekend to check out Silsbee Ford. They've got some really good deals going on. Go check out their Facebook page and just go over there towards Silsbee and see what they got on their lot. And here we are this afternoon. We are going to warm up fairly quickly, getting into the low to mid-90s. Your only relief from the heat is that 10% less for a little quick passing shower, but I don't think that's going to affect a majority of us. It's going to be a hot weekend. And in fact, the next 3 to 5 days looks hot, but that's what we see this time of year. Thanks again for Modern Concrete Materials showing us what's going on this morning. Not much this morning, but we definitely are warming up. Heat index today will be between 100 to 106 degrees. And we see that heat index actually getting warmer tomorrow and as we get later in this week. And that's all due thanks to the high pressure, thanks to Switch Electric on the Futurecast. We could see we've got this kind of a battle of high pressure. We've got the biggest high pressure up here towards our northwest. That's going to kind of help bring in kind of that flow from the north. We'll see the chance for some showers later on this evening. Again, 10% or less coverage. And as we get into Sunday, again, here's the battle of the high pressure. This is bringing the flow out of the Gulf. So we can have some sea breeze tomorrow. Again, coverage should be around 10% or less. We see that kind of pop up around the I-10 corridor and then slowly moves a little bit further inland. So coverage on Sunday should be, again, 10% or less. But you see kind of the battle between the two high pressure ridges. They're trying to keep us dry, and we are dry in the mid to upper levels, but you're still trying to get a little bit of moisture to work in here. But since we're so dry in the mid to upper levels, rain coverage is very limited. We're going to stay limited on the rain coverage at least the rest of the week, and it's not until that we get to the weekend we see this high-pressure ridge move off towards the west just enough we might see a weakness over here towards the east. So in other words, we might start seeing the flow start sneaking in out of the east. Could see some showers, could see some storms up here in parts of southwest Louisiana. Right now, coverage isn't just too high. We're going 10 to 20% for southwest Louisiana, and possibly for areas like Port Arthur, Beaumont, Silsbee, up towards Jasper, we could see that 10 to 20% coverage. It's just going to be pretty hard for the areas out west towards Houston. That high pressure could be still in control of your weather, keeping us pretty high and dry, even at the end of the week getting into next weekend. So bringing us to our rainfall outlook, you can see we're pretty isolated this weekend, 10% or less. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I don't think we go rain-free, but I just don't think it's enough to put in the forecast. I don't think we get to 10% coverage Monday through Tuesday. We should see maybe 1 to 2% coverage for some rain, just trying to show us that we don't have any bona fide rain coverage going on the next 5 to 7 days. And even as the end of the week, once we see that ridge kind of slightly move off towards the west, even then, rain coverage looks pretty limited. Nothing like we've seen really the last couple of months. Look at the Futurecast, sponsored by Tamco. You can see kind of the clouds moving, working their way in from the north. We might see the potential for some isolated showers. I don't think we'll see any storms. I think the coverage for 10% is a little bit better on the southwest Louisiana side, but I still put 10% 20% coverage for Sabine Pass, Port Arthur, Beaumont, up towards Jasper. But realistically, there's probably just 5% coverage over here. But we'll see it. But today, again, temperatures into low to mid-90s. Going to be into the upper 80s to near 90s for the coast. And then later on, and then again, here we are. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. But here we are, low to mid-90s across the region, thanks for a sponsor of Silsby Ford. And then right along the coast, upper 80s to the near 90 degree. Again, the only relief from the heat is that 10% or less coverage for a quick shower. It is going to be a hot day, but one thing that's good about it, it's the weekend, so we can hang out by the pool or by the beach and cool off. And then overnight tonight, temperatures into the middle to upper 70s. And the closer you get to the coast, pretty much I-10 down towards Galveston and High Island, Sabine Pass, you'll be in the upper 70s to low to mid 80s. The ACs will be working overtime a lot, and that's what they do this time of year because we're actually going to see somewhat of a little bit of a warming trend, high pressure really dominating us. We actually start getting more into the middle to mainly the upper 90s once we get into Sunday. Majority of us, we're going to get into it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The reason why is we actually see the humidity and dew points increase Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so likely going to see the heat index values on these days getting near 109 to 111 degrees. So we are definitely going to continue warming up throughout the next 3 to 5 days. And then rain coverage is pretty limited, but we possibly could see a weakness of the ridge moves a little bit further to the west, could introduce a chance for some showers, maybe a couple isolated storms by the time we get into the end of the week. But still, coverage is pretty low. But same thing for southwest Louisiana this weekend. We're pretty limited on the rain coverage. We do start warming up a little bit as we get into this week. Heat index is going to warm up as the dew points increase. And then southwest Louisiana, as of right now, has a little bit better odds of seeing that moisture sneaking in from the east as we get into the end of the week. Possibly could see 30 to 40% coverage for some showers, maybe a couple of storms. Just like any time when storms come in from the east, they typically have the chance for some gusty winds and lots of lightning. But other than that, that's our 7-day forecast. Mostly dry, mostly hot. Might see some rain kind of sneaking in as we get into the end of the week, into next weekend. But other than that, it is a mostly hot and mostly dry weekend. So thanks again for tuning into the Saturday morning show. Y'all have a wonderful Saturday. Stay cool and have a good weekend. The only thing that we're seeing right now is some pretty hot temperatures. And again, if you do get any showers, the coverage should be pretty less. It's not going to ruin any outdoor fun that you have. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. And thanks again for tuning in with Gulf Coast Weather Solutions. We will see y'all video-wise. Lucas will have our next video Sunday evening, but we're still going to have updates throughout the day on Facebook, YouTube, and on our app. Our 7-day update will be later on this afternoon, and that's really all that we have in store. Tropics looks quiet, not much to do, so y'all have a good weekend, stay cool, and thanks again for tuning in.
Gulf Coast Weather Solutions is sponsored by
We don't know what the weather is going to be like around here. I do get really anxious during storms.
That's why they chose HailGuard. When performance leads, confidence follows. Backed by the first and only asphalt shingle system with a hail warranty.
That just gives us more peace of mind.
This is the only asphalt product on the market that has the manufacturer warranty targeting the hail damage, and it gives me a lot of confidence as a contractor.
Engineered for enhanced impact performance. Built to protect homes and reputations. HailGuard shingles. Built for hail.